Hello, everybody. Welcome to this chat with me and our composer Oliver Moore.
Hi, everyone.
We're here to discuss the music in Chapter 0.
Yeah, so it's it's been a while really since Chapter 0 now, hasn't it? It
Yes.
feels it's been such a journey since then, and the music has changed a lot since then as well, especially for the upcoming episode. I feel like a lot has been learned along the way with regards to the music and how it's sort of shaping the world. But originally, when we first started talking about the music for episode 0 in particular, we were sort of talking about, like, we wanted this to really be the theme for High Hopes. We didn't necessarily want it to be like the other episodes are turning out at the moment, where the music is reflective of the episode itself. This was to be the initial theme for everything and really sort of help set the world building that you had in episode 0, right?
Yeah, I mean, Chapter 0 is primarily just to show you, the context of the story, provide you some world before we actually launch into the minutiae of everybody's characters and what everybody's doing. So it's helpful to have the music which would follow them throughout the show. I really like it.
Why, thank you.
I love it a lot.
It is interesting how, like I say, it's developed, and like it's something that I'm really keen to carry on doing, where music does follow each of the characters in each episode. So even though you might not hear the theme in every single episode that we put out, you'll hear some kind of variation, or you'll hear some kind of callback. So definitely keep your ears open for sort of the small details in the music, because you never know that it might come back and pay off in the future.
I think we should talk first about the how. So when and this applies to every episode that we've done so far, including the one we're working on at the moment, which is Chapter 2. The way that this happens is that we storyboard the episode, and then there is an edit made of the storyboard that turns it into a video of. So obviously the storyboard itself isn't animated, but what it does is it gives us the sense of how long the episode's going to be and the pacing of each frame, essentially. And the transitions. You can actually see on Patreon that we have the side-by-side between the storyboard video and the final episode, which is super useful for you to be able to see the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Though
it's very interesting.
I will say we have come a long way, even in the storyboards, since Chapter 0. And then once that video is together, really the rest of the work kind of the episode starts. Everybody kicks in, right? And for you, Oliver, that's us giving you the storyboard video, and then you compose the music to that, right?
Episode 0 was very unique, because for chapters 1 and 2, that's exactly how it happened. I got the storyboard, and then I immediately started working to the visual, and it's very, very helpful to have that storyboard there. However, episode 0, because it was the theme, you asked me to make the theme first. I don't think I actually had the storyboard.
Okay. That sounds reasonable.
We chucked about ideas. That's sort of how it first came about. We chucked about ideas for what we wanted it to sort of embody and what we wanted it to sound like. And I think a couple of the ideas we sort of threw around to start off with were like things like the Avengers, something big, something heroic. And if any of you are familiar with the sort of Star Trek Voyager theme tune back in the 90s, that is, it's not necessarily like big. That's TNG. It's not necessarily big, but it's very sort of floating and very hopeful. You're singing the wrong one, but that's okay.
No, I can't, because we so for context, we were watching Voyager at the time. Janeway's the best captain.
For the win.
But now we're watching TNG. We're going backwards for some reason, but now we're watching TNG. I can't summon Voyager's theme to my mind because it's. Oh yeah, that's right.
And it's very sort of, hopeful and like, because, they're lost in space and they're
Yeah.
going to get home. So is that sort of like, again, high hopes, right? You want to have the hope in the music. And so before we got to the main theme that you hear in the final episode and going forward, there were a number of different variations of the theme. And so we're going to cover a few of those today. We're going to just sort of listen through to them, and we're going to make a couple of little comments on them and what might have been running through my head as I was trying to get it together. So this is like the very, very first idea I ever had for any sort of theme regarding High Hopes, and it's so bare bones.
So just before you play it,
yeah,
I will say that a lot of people send us still to this day, send us the link to the YouTube video for Panic at the Disco's
yeah, I know
High
they
Hopes.
do. I know they do.
And say, oh my god, you should use this as your theme. And I'm like, well, I mean, like in the first month of that song being released, we all very much loved it. Now we have heard it so many times.
We're sick of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, unless Brendan Urie takes payment in D&D characters, like we cannot afford that.
No, not even slightly. I mean, maybe at some point in the future it would be great to have, but for the meantime,
yeah. So I just wanted to bear that in mind, like how different these two things are.
And this is definitely a piece that was definitely a bit of music that was thrown around as well whilst we were coming on with it.
I think that, I mean, you'll probably hear it in all of these examples that, I mean, you personally, Oliver, are. I was going to say, you are a trumpet. You play the trumpet. That's your primary instrument.
I am a trumpet.
Trumpeter? That's probably not the right one. Trumpeter. But, I think you can see all the big themes, like, banana,
brass was
right. Brass is there in all of this stuff.
Brass was a very big influence to start with for me, because I know how to write for brass, and I know what it needs to sort of sound like. This is the beta theme, this is like I've called it just 0.5. It's not even a 1. And then it just sort of meanders on a little bit like that. There's not much to it. There were some chords at the beginning.
You said there's not much to it, but there feels like there's quite a lot happening. Right? Like you have those chords at the beginning, and then it like transitions into also the midis. I mean, obviously, you use what you have at hand for this kind of thing, but the midis really do make me think of RuneScape.
Yes. Yeah. The sounds have developed a lot between 0 and 2. I have managed to purchase more sample packs, so the sounds are getting better and better as the episodes go on, and it's getting more and more real sounding. I unfortunately don't have access to a full orchestra as much as I would like, but this one is sort of very light-hearted, and it's fairly bare bones. It kind of has that sort of, if any of our audience is old enough, it has, I sort of embodied a little bit of like Pokemon Ruby, Pokemon Sapphire with that sort of trumpet, but it never got into the full chorus that I particularly wanted it to be.
Road,
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it never really got fully fleshed out, unfortunately. It didn't really work for me, and nor do I ever really wish to hear it ever again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. It's a little bit wandering, really. It is.
It just sort of meanders.
It just does some stuff.
So the first sort of like proper one, this one I tried to sort of make it a little bit more sort of hopeful. But let's see what it sounds like. So it's far more heroic, but a little bit. It's got that meandering kind of.
So when you played that to me for the first time, my opinion was then, as it is now, that it is very Final Fantasy. It is both the opening animation to a Final Fantasy game like Final Fantasy 12, or it's you've defeated the bad guy. Now here's the panning shots of like the world that you've saved.
The landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not super direct, is it?
No. I like the beginning though.
The
right. That really is great, right? Fantastic. Yeah. Great. Love it. There's a little bit of choir in there as well. I was at the beginning I was really hoping to use a bit of brass and a bit of vocal. It never actually panned out, unfortunately, even though there is some vocal in the teaser video that we put out. There is vocal in that, and I never pursued it after that. It's just not the sound I needed or wanted. But that one again is very much a Star Trek Voyager-esque kind of thing. It floats, it moves along, but doesn't feel like it's going anywhere again. So the second one, I tried to infuse a little bit more action into it to make it a little bit more interesting, rather than it just sort of being like, yeah, I'm sort of going around in a circle and it's a little bit dull. But let's listen to it. So I'll be honest, I actually really like that one.
Yeah, I like that one too.
I do really like it. I seem to remember when I composed it and then, we listened to it together, I was like, it's not really what I want, which is why we didn't go with it.
Yeah.
I like it, but it's not what I wanted.
It doesn't feel quite. It feels like we're walking into something, right?
It's a bit darker than what it should be.
Which, I mean, I certainly would be useful for certain things and for the themes for certain things, but not necessarily for like this whole. Like there's so much to say, isn't there, with this piece of music? So you're trying to sort of encompass everything whilst also avoiding everything.
Yeah, that's right. I have to admit, the beginning of it feels very, very James Bond, right? Like. Skyfall. Yeah, it goes on too long though. That falling sequence just is like, I put in way too many steps.
It's not super like themey, right? Like,
no.
How long is that piece?
Oh man. Well, the intro is about sort of 16 to 20 seconds. And then the whole thing is just over a minute at 1 minute and 3 seconds.
Okay.
So it was too much. And then although the middle section sort of becomes a little bit Morse codey. I put in some very, very short sort of staccato notes, right? Da, 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 and it almost sort of gave it a slight sort of war feel.
Yeah, this is the bit specifically that makes you feel like you're about to walk into something.
Yeah, right. Very sort of stand to attention. And it's just not the tone we wanted.
Not quite, no.
It might make a revival.
Yeah, I think
at
so.
some point.
It's good.
With better sounds. And then that led us quite nicely onto not the final theme, but what would become the theme. and I felt as though it encapsulated a lot of the mood for episode 0. So yeah. So that obviously has a lot less articulation in it. You know, the brass sounds are far more like merged together. It's sort of more legato, it's sort of more smooth. But oddly enough, it fit the storyboard perfectly. I think Alex chucked it on the storyboard, and it lined up with everything just right. If you left that gap at the beginning where Hydra still rises, and then start the music, it fit. And we sort of ran with it. I really liked it, and I really like the fact that it sort of gave you everything from the others, right? But with that sort of sense of hope at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of sense of like urgency, that sense of, you know, get up and go, but like it's still hopeful in that sort of very particular way. Obviously it's quite bare bones in comparison to the final one, but
I will say that when I mean, obviously we had listened to all of your other stuff previously. When Alex edited this over the soundboard for the first time, storyboard, so that we could see what it looked like.
Mhm.
I remember us all being like very excited for the
Oh, really?
like feeling like this is very concrete for the first time, for sure.
Yeah, well, you know, it just sort of covered everything that you needed to, didn't it? It was big, just like what we wanted. In the beginning, it was hopeful. It gave that bit of tension at the beginning as well with the sort of like the high strings, you know, that string figure just really sort of makes you go, what's about to happen? And I really enjoyed that, and sort of, you know, it pulled from the other sort of themes that we had used earlier. And I think the thing that was really missing from it was timps, because there are timps in the final one. Final theme, as you probably all know, sounds a lot like this.
Nice.
it really is very much more fleshed out, isn't it? And I think even though now I have better sounds, I still have no desire at the moment to go back and like redo it or make it better or anything like that. It is just what it is, and I really enjoy it. And it does sort of form the basis for a fair bit of stuff that we've done sort of following that. Yeah, I really enjoy it, and I really enjoy doing the music for everything else that I've done, after that.
I'm going to take this opportunity to recommend that obviously, at the time of recording, not possible, but when it is available again, that you go and support your local orchestras, go and watch your local symphonies and stuff like that. Like most small towns will have some kind of like orchestra or something, and the tickets aren't expensive ever, and it really makes a massive difference to your listening to music to have heard it played live. There is nothing quite like it, and when I think about this music that you wrote for us, and I think about my experiences watching live music of this kind, it sort of adds a layer where I can envision. Obviously, all of these sounds are pre-records, right, or MIDIs or whatever. I cannot imagine what it would be like to have that be live.
It would be so big. It would be so
big,
great.
yeah, so much.
And the thing is, with especially with the main theme, it is condensed down. Actually quite a bit in regards to the instrumentation. You've got a string section, you've got brass, you've got some individual brass in there, and then you've got some woodwind and some percussion. But if you were to give it to an orchestrator and say, spread this out a little bit more widely across an orchestra, maybe include some instruments that I didn't include. God, what a noise.
Yeah.
what an absolute noise that would be.
Yeah.
Like, it would be tremendous. There are no plans for the immediate future,
No,
but
it
you
would
never
be
know,
fun, wouldn't it?
You never know when an opportunity might arise, and it's always in the back of my mind. So one day, maybe one day
That would be very fun.
definitely. But for now, thank you very much, everybody, for all your support. The theme and all the music for chapter 1 is actually available on my Spotify.
Apple Music.
And Apple Music and Amazon and Deezer and all these other platforms I've never heard of.
Platforms.
But please, do go and listen to it, because they're there. There's as high quality as I can possibly make them, and the new tracks will become available as soon as possible after each new episode releases.
Yeah, all of the music is also available on YouTube if that is your preferred style of listening. It is the best way to support the creation of this show, and the creation of the music is just to listen to the music on any platform of your choice.
Yeah. I think you can actually even purchase it on iTunes.
Really?
Yeah, you can. You have literally every option available to you.
And I really recommend it. It's really good. It's great. Hey, you know what? You can use it in your own D&D campaigns. It's that good. It's good.
Yeah. Like if you ever need a little bit of background ambience, just chuck on a track or two. I do actually also have on my SoundCloud. God, I'm plugging a lot. On my SoundCloud, there is actually a playlist of D&D background music, which is some very, very early stuff, but I still stand by it.
What's your SoundCloud? Because you also have a lot of. If you listener are interested in, just listening to Oliver's music, then you should head over to SoundCloud, because as we said earlier, he plays the trumpet, and I know I'm biased, but he plays it really well.
Oh, thank you.
And there's lots of really good stuff on SoundCloud for you to go listen to.
So my SoundCloud is Mercury Music, all one word, and it's got everything that I have recorded up there. So that includes things that I have performed myself at home in a sort of small recording setup, as well as all the High Hopes music. And music will be continually made available on that platform along with all the others. So yeah, find me wherever is most convenient for you.
In the meantime, if you have questions about the theme or the music for any of the episodes or about Oliver in general, then make sure you leave a comment on this post or on this video, and I'll make sure that he provides some answers.
Thanks. I will try my best to answer everybody's questions, should you have any questions. And thank you. Most importantly, thank you very much for listening and enjoying the music that I have created. It's been a journey.
And thank you for listening to this.
Yes, yeah.
And for your support on Patreon.
Every time.
I'm never gonna get it right.
Every time. Until next time.
Yeah, we'll be back for more for chapter 1, and then for chapter 2, and then 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 when all of these videos are done.
Huzzah.
Huzzah. Okay.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.